Welcome to the Mortgage Mayhem podcast, where the mortgage game meets real life, real talk, and a whole lot of chaos. We break down the deals, the drama, and the data behind the scenes of real estate finance, with a twist of street smarts, savvy, and a touch of madness. Before we dive in, here's the deal. The Mortgage Mayhem podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. We are not attorneys, CPAs, or licensed financial advisors, and nothing you hear on this show should be taken as legal, financial, or investment advice. Always consult a licensed professional before making.
Hello. We're back again. Welcome to the Mortgage Mayhem podcast, where chaos meets clarity in the world of real estate, lending, and culture. My name is G Money, and today we've got a jam-packed show that blends headlines, hacks, and a deep dive that might change how you look at private lending. Let's dive right in. Let's start with some of today's most talked about headlines. Mortgage rates dip below 7% again. The Trump administration freezes $2.2 billion in Harvard grants. Study finds intelligence more likely passed down from others. FTC versus Meta, the trial begins. Gayle King and the all-women crew launched into space. Trump and Bilku refused to return mistakenly deported man. Stephen A. Smith hints at 2028 presidential run. Judge rules against DMX's ex-wife, and Louis Vuitton's Texas plant struggles. We also got some mortgage hacks. Very good stuff that I think you guys will benefit from tremendously. So we're going to get into all of that right here, right now on the Mortgage Mayhem podcast. All right, guys, let's talk shop. Let's talk mortgages real quick. The mortgage rates fall back below 7%. Last Friday was notable in that it was the first day since February 19th where the average top tier 30-year fixed rate mortgage rate ended the day over 7%. Last week was also notable for ranking among the more abrupt weeks for rising rates over the past few years. Things are getting off to a friendlier start in the present week with the 30-year fixed rate index edging back below 7%, roughly in lines with levels seen last Wednesday and Thursday. As it is true for most markets at the moment, the bond market, which underlies mortgage rate movement, continues a on tariff exclusion for certain tech-related imports help bonds set up for today's lower rates. Despite the improvements today, rates remain at a risk of higher potential volatility as fiscal details continue coming into focus. So, like we spoke yesterday, now may be a good time for you to dip back in and actually, either lock in a rate. We're getting back in that 7% range like we was talking about. When you see things like this, you got to dive in. You can't be scared because it's like anything else. When the iron is hot, you got to strike, right? So if the rates are lower, you got to strike. If you're an investor and you're looking to, pick up some properties or lock in, rates on your current properties that you may own and you may be looking to cash out of, you might need to call me or your local broker, loan officer, and get locked in, so you can, take advantage of the leverage, take advantage of the rates. So definitely might be something you want to look into ASAP today. The rates are going down. So, you want to be on top of that. You want to get into that like as soon as possible. So let's take a look and see if that's a possibility for you. And if so, lock in, lock in, lock in. I just thought it was significant because we just talked about this yesterday, how rates were going up, and we must have talked them back down, because they are dropping, despite what's going on out there in the economy right now with tariffs and the rest of the crazy stuff that's occurring out there in the marketplace. I just thought, now will probably be a good time for you to, reach in and see if you could take advantage of the lower rates. You might just want to kind of, it's only Tuesday and they're starting to drop. You might want to kind of wait until maybe Wednesday, Thursday, to take a look and see where they are. And if you could take advantage of these 6% rates, I would say go ahead and take advantage of it. We don't know if rates are going to get, lower. They probably will with the president being a real estate guy. And I'm pretty sure people in the industry are yelling at him, screaming at him, telling him to get these rates right. But it sounds like he got bigger fish to fry right now. But I know him, and him being a part of the real estate industry, he'll circle back and get it figured out. So you can sit on the sidelines, but if you've been looking at an opportunity to get in this week, might be a good time to do just that, right? All right, so let's talk about what's going on at Harvard University and the new administration. Harvard has $2.2 billion in grants. Yeah, I'm gonna back that up. Harvard, you know what Harvard is, the college, Harvard University, has $2.2 billion in grants frozen by the Trump administration after rejecting demands. The Trump administration on Monday night said it would be freezing $2.2 billion in grants to Harvard University over concerns about anti-Semitism and other things that's occurring on their campus. The freeze was announced hours after Harvard flatly rejected demands by the Trump administration to eliminate its DEI program and screen international students for ideological concerns, putting nearly $12 billion in federal funding for the university at risk. This is what I mean, put your money where your mouth is. So they're basically saying, we're not going to, not have everybody at the table. We're not going to infringe on free speech, for our international students. So to me, Harvard is really trailblazing right now, because they understand, that you get a better product when you got everybody at the table. And you can't just, because you don't like what other people may, think of your proposed plans for the, for the country, and they may want to protest them. You can't just come and stick a sock in it. It's always been that way. People have always been able to protest, what they disagree with. And just because, all of a sudden your whatever it is that you want to do, they disagree with, you want to have the university do your dirty work. I don't think that's fair. I think that, a university like Harvard, who is basically, upper top echelon of universities and educating individuals, they have the wherewithal to hold their grounds on things of this nature because they are who they are. Now, I don't know if they're going to cave at some point because 2.2 billion in grants still is 2.2 billion. But as of right now, it seems like they're sticking to their guns. And, I can appreciate a university, for doing that, because if they don't and other universities see the top of the food chain university cave, then typically it would be easier for other universities to do, just that. And a lot of them may want to do that anyway, but it looks like Harvard is saying no as of right now. And the Trump administration proposed conditions Harvard must follow to receive the funding. And that did include eliminating the so-called DEI initiatives and screenings for their international students, supportive of terrorism and anti-Semitism. The White House has also targeted Columbia, Cornell, and Northwestern University with threats to their federal funding as well. So they're really just trying to, come in. To me, when it's like they don't want the truth to be taught at these universities for whatever reason. It's like they want to whitewash it, and it's too late for that. The average person understands where and what occurred in the past. So, as much as they try to erase history, it's not going to work, because at some point, someone's going to come back into the White House and make sure that individuals understand the history of the United States, whether good or bad, because it's been a lot of bad. And I don't understand why we can't learn from the bad to make sure that we don't, repeat the past. So I would say big ups to Harvard. Never thought I would say that. But based off of this, I like what it is that I'm seeing. But we'll keep up. We'll see what's going on. We'll see if they fold or, they stay 10 toes down. All right. Came across something that I've always kind of wondered about, but I just never had any details about it. And that's about a child's intellect. What happens to you as a child that gives you whatever intellect you have as an adult? And I came across an article yesterday, and I was like, this might be interesting to bring to the forefront. A child's intelligence is more likely to be inherited from their mother than their father, according to research. The independent spotlight research suggesting that intelligence may be more heavily inherited from mothers. This is because the genes linked to intelligence are carried on the X chromosome. And since women have two of them compared to men who have one, kids are more likely to get their cognitive abilities from mom. Some studies show that paternal genes linked to advanced thinking might be deactivated, especially in the part of the brain that controls reasoning and logic. Mouse studies revealed that maternal genes were made active in brain growth, while paternal genes were tied to physical growth and instincts. To back this up, the human data, researchers tracked over 12,000 young people for years and found out a mother's IQ was the strongest predictor of a child's intelligence, even when other factors like education and income was considered. That said, genes aren't the whole story. Environment plays a huge role too. Emotional support and close bonds, especially between mothers and their children, were found to help grow key areas of the brain like the hippocampus, which is essentially for memory and learning. But it's not just moms who matter. Fathers contribute emotionally and genetically in important ways, especially through traits like intuition and emotional awareness. So while moms may lead in passing on intelligence, both parents play powerful roles in shaping a child's full potential. Whew, I was getting ready to say, do they give us any credit? But towards the end of the article, they do. But I typically find that women seem to be more intellectual than men. I've spoken and been with or around a lot of intelligent women throughout my life, and it just, I don't know what it is. It's something about women that, I don't know. It just seems like they have more intellect than men. Not to say that men aren't smart. I mean, because we're smart in our own ways as well. But as far as just being intellectually superior, it does seem like to me, just by my own experience, that women tend to be more intellectual, and emotional. But, instincts, just having the wherewithal to, be less emotional but more intellectual in some cases. Um, Us men, we do seem to fit that bill. Um, but overall, I do see where they're coming from when it comes to the makeup of the brain and how that works. And I can see that a woman having two chromosomes compared to X chromosomes compared to the men has to play a major part. So I don't want to just say nah to that article or what they're saying, because it leads to some critical thinking, and based off of that critical thinking, everything that I've experienced throughout time, it seems like women are more intelligent, because even in business, it's always said, especially in our circles, we like to work with women more because they just know how to get stuff done. And that's true. I mean, I've been in the industry for a long time, and my experiences have been that when I have women involved, things get done ASAP. Compared to men, we linger, we ego trip. Women don't have that. They get to it and they get things done. So in that case, yes, I'm gonna have to feel the same way that the article does when it comes to the intellect of women over men. Even as a kid, they say women mature faster than men. So I think the article is spot on. I hope men aren't out there like, what are you talking about? Because as soon as you say that and you think about the women that's in your life, more than likely you're gonna be like, not even if you don't say it out loud, in your brain, you're gonna agree as well. So let's move on. The Federal Trade Commission is suing Facebook, right? Meta, well, Facebook and Meta, same company, forcing them to sell off Instagram and WhatsApp. Never knew they owned WhatsApp, knew they owned Instagram, but Facebook Meta is being forced to sell off Instagram and WhatsApps. Their trial began today. The Federal Trade Commission has launched a major antitrust against Meta, accusing the company of building a monopoly by acquiring Instagram and WhatsApp to eliminate competition. The FTC claims Meta used a buy or bury strategy, citing internal emails from CEO Mark Zuckerberg that suggests these acquisitions were meant to neutralize fast-growing rivals. Meta, of course, denies the allegations, arguing that it still faces strong competition from TikTok, YouTube, and LinkedIn. The company also points out that government originally approved both deals and says reversing them now would hurt innovation and business. If the FTC wins, Meta would be forced to sell Instagram and WhatsApp, a move that could reshape the tech industry. However, legal experts say the case will be difficult as the FTC must prove Meta wouldn't have succeeded without those acquisitions. The trial, expected to last 8 weeks, features key witnesses like Mark Zuckerberg, Sheryl Sandberg, and Instagram co-founder Kevin Systrom. It's part of a broader government effort to rein in big tech, with similar actions already taken against Google, Amazon, and Apple. Well, this big money conversation. The FTC is like, we don't want any monopolies around here because we all know just from the past what monopolies bring. So I can see why they would want to intervene and, at least see if that is occurring, because if that is the case, then, it doesn't allow for the competition to be competition anymore. Right. So I would say if the FTC had a problem with it, why would they allow Facebook Meta to buy Instagram and the other application WhatsApp in the first place? They knew what the potential of Facebook Meta owning WhatsApp and Instagram would bring forth. So to me, I don't think they're going to be able to win the case, because they're going to keep going back to, well, why did you allow us to purchase it in the first place? Right? If you thought we were trying to have a monopoly, now you didn't think we were trying to have a monopoly when you said yes to the initial transaction of both spaces. So I think Zuckerberg, with his billions, I can't imagine the sharks he has as attorneys to get him out of things of this nature. But I know he has the best that money can buy, the most brilliant minds in the law space that's available. So FTC, I hope you got your ducks in a row, because you're not dealing with small peanuts here. You're dealing with a big dog. And with that comes money, power, and influence. So these guys love going up against the government. I mean, they have what most people don't have, the ability to fight the government. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this is going to pan out. But my money is on Facebook Meta. That's what I'm thinking. Although the FTC is the FTC, and Meta, Facebook Meta, Mark Zuckerberg probably understand and knows that they better have their ducks in line as well. But it's definitely going to be a battle and wit for the ages. So we'll keep our eye on that as well. All right, so I know everybody been seeing everything. It's everywhere. It's on the TV screens. It's all over social media. Gayle King and Blue Origin's all-women crew return after historic space launch. The Blue Orion's first all-women flight crew blasted off Monday on a journey 62 miles above Earth's surface to the Kármán line, the internationally recognized boundary of space. The NS-31 mission marked the 11th human flight of Jeff Bezos' New Shepard program. The all-women Blue Origin flight crew lifted off on time Monday morning around 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. You could hear screams and awe inside the capsule as the rocket blasted off and headed toward the Kármán line. I got chills. I got tears in my eyes. The enormous burst of sound, described CBS Morning feature host Vladimir Duthers as he watched the rocket disappear in the sky. Later saying he could hear Gayle King marvel, "Oh, look at that," from inside the rocket. The all-woman Blue Origin flight crew you took down, peacefully, you look down at the planet and you think, well, King described the Kármán line as being oddly quiet and peaceful. You look down at the planet and you think, that's where we came from. To me, it's such a reminder about how we need to do better, be better, said King, adding that she'll never, ever, ever forget it. She joined pop superstar Katy Perry, journalist and philanthropist Lauren Sanchez, film producer Carrie Ann Flynn, former NASA rocket scientist Asia Boy, and civil rights activist Amanda Nugent on Blue Origin's historic trip to space. Boy is the Bahamian and Nugent the first Vietnam and South Asian women in space. Wow. I mean, I've always kind of been geeky like that when it comes to space. I mean, I just love it. I love, people having the audacity to explore. I don't know what has happened. Just remember growing up, and that was just a big thing. Watching, rockets blast off into space. I remember I was a kid and maybe I want to say ninth, 10th grade when I don't want to age myself, maybe younger than that, but when the spaceship blew up and individuals passed away and they actually had it showing in a classroom, and that was just a traumatic incident during that period of time, because we were literally, back then they used to bring the TVs in, and it was a thing. And that one particular blast off didn't end according to plan, and we was traumatized behind that, but that just didn't stop us from dreaming about being astronauts and just doing the impossible. And for these ladies to have the opportunity to go off into space is pretty major, to say the least. So I just wish them well. Can't wait to hear more about their stories. I know they're everywhere talking about it. I've seen video, and you can literally see Earth from the capsule, which is just amazing. Like it just allows you to understand that it's not just us. We're just here on Earth, but there's things that we have no idea that exists. We do, but we don't. So yeah, that was a sight to see. And Jeff Bezos, he gets it. He has all the money in the world, but he's like how I was just saying, he nerds out about exploring, the world that we don't know. So big up to Jeff Bezos. Big up to these ladies for having the courage and the ability to go on this flight into space. So 62 miles from Earth. So that would be like from here. I'm in the outskirts of Detroit. That's a couple cities away. So that's a pretty far distance from the Earth to be just orbiting out into space. So that had to be a blast. I know they was nervous. I know they couldn't wait to get back. I seen most of them kissing the ground. So it definitely was a scary, scary proposition for them, but they got it done. So, big ups to them. Nice job, ladies. All right. So President Trump and Bokil say they won't return the mistakenly deported man back to the U.S. Salvadorian President Nayib Bukele said Monday that he has no plans to return a Maryland man mistakenly deported to a prison in his country, telling reporters, "Of course, I'm not going to do it." Burkle's Oval Office meeting with President Trump was the first since the Supreme Court ruled last week that the U.S. must facilitate the return of Kilmar Garcia. However, both Trump and Bukele suggested they don't have the power to return the Maryland man. All of a sudden, they have no power to go to a cell, grab this man, put him on a plane, and bring him back to the United States. They don't have the power to do that. The Supreme Court has told them to get it done, has told the president to get it done, and now everybody's acting as if they have no power. When any other thing that they want to get done, they got all the power in the world. It's just mind-boggling. Mind-boggling. All right, so the Trump administration figures gather in the office mischaracterizing the substance of the court's order. How could I return him to the United States? I smuggled him to the United States. Of course, I'm not going to do it. The question is stupid, Bukele said, going on to refer to Abigail Garcia as a terrorist. I don't have the power to return him to the United States. I'm not releasing. We're not very fond of releasing terrorists into our country, he added, noting that El Salvador is no longer the murder capital of the world. Before Bukele spoke, Trump and a number of his aides suggested the decision would rest with El Salvador. That's up to El Salvador if they want to return him. That's not up to us, Attorney General Pam Bondi said. That's up to the El Salvador if they want to return him. It is not up to us, she repeated. Trump repeatedly bashed CNN reporter Caitlin Collins and the network for asking about Abigail Garcia. How long do we have to answer these questions from you? Why don't you just say, isn't it wonderful that we're keeping criminals out of our country? Trump remarked. But from everything that I've been told, he's not a criminal. So I don't understand how they're literally painting a false narrative on someone who is not guilty of anything. This is what throws me for a loop about this. I mean, if this guy has done, whatever he supposedly had been doing here in the United States and he needed to go back to his country because of those things, that would be one thing. I would be the first to be like, see you later, buddy. But from every indication, that's not the case. To the point where the Supreme Court has said, bring him back. So I don't understand. I guess it's because it's poster board material. I think the president thought he would be able to send people to jail in other countries and everybody would be tap dancing about it. The ones that need to go, yes, everybody is tap dancing. But the ones who are getting swept up for no reason and are innocent and have families and duties here in this country, then it's not okay to me. So I don't understand why this is going on. To me, it seems like the president and the Justice Department is playing hardball with the Supreme Court. And it seems like they're going to do that quite often, which is insane. But we're not in a dictatorship here. And I get the president has the opportunity to do his thing during his 4 years as the president. But right is right, wrong is wrong. And most times, in most cases, most presidents, when things are wrong, they get them right and we move on. This could easily be put behind him where I don't understand if it's because he's trying to, dignify his base, his MAGA base, because why would you keep having this on the table? Get it off the table, get this man back here to the United States so he can take care of his family. And if for whatever reason we find out that not just him, but anybody else from another country is doing something that they're not supposed to be doing that's worthy of jail time, then okay, ship those individuals back to their country so they can be housed in jail in the countries that they were in, the countries that they began doing those crimes, and then they furthered those crimes here into the United States. So, administration, I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt because I get it. I understand that you're supposed to have an opportunity to show and prove. That's why I don't have any issues with these tariffs. I mean, I have some issues, but I want to allow a president to do what they're supposed to do. And if you fail, you fail. If you succeed, you succeed. If you fail, you out of there. If you succeed, it makes the country a better country. That's how I see it. That's how I see it. So hopefully the administration can find itself in a situation where they can get this past them sooner than later, because it's not going away from every indicator that's being put forth. Anytime a reporter has an opportunity to ask the question, they're going to ask the question. So my suggestion to the administration, not like you taking any suggestion, is do what you typically do when an issue becomes a hot issue. You handle it and you get it past you. You're going to have too many other hot issues to be continuously talking about something that you can easily take care of. Anyway, so that's it on that. Next thing coming up is, I found this interesting. According to reports, Stephen A. Smith said Sunday he might have to run for president in 2028 if Democrats don't offer a strong candidate. The ESPN host claimed he's received many requests to consider a run and feels he must keep the option open. I have no choice because I've had elected officials, and I'm not going to give their names, coming up to me, Smith told ABC News this week, Sunday. I've had folks that got a lot of money, billionaires and others that have talked to me about exploring committees and things of that nature, he added. I'm not a politician. I've never had a desire to be a politician. I would hope somebody else would step up that's more qualified than me. But if it has to come down to me, It is something I will consider, he added. So, Stephen A. Smith for president, huh? Hey, it's a free country. That's how I look at it. If you want to put your neck out on the line for the country because you feel like you can make a change, you can bring something to the table that nobody else has brought to the table, then I say have at it. I don't have nothing against Stephen A. saying what he said and him actually running in 2028. If the current president who came from out of nowhere can do it, Stephen A. Smith, who would be coming from out of nowhere, could put his hat in the ring as well. I think the bigger point is the Democrats not having someone to provide the space where this wouldn't even be a question. This wouldn't even be something that we would be talking about because we would know who has the ability, who has the want to be the next president. There's a lot of people out there, but I mean, we just don't know who has the wherewithal or the ability just based off of in our face information that's willing to step up to the plate on the Democratic side. Of course, when it's time, it's going to be several people that steps up to the plate, but we want someone who's ready to get it in. When I say we, I'm not saying me as a Democrat. I'm just saying we as the people and those who are Democrats. They want a new type of Democrat, just based off of everything that I'm seeing. They want someone Trump-like without the baggage, someone who's going to stand up and fight for, the common people and, look at giving those people a better life here in the United States. And they need somebody with passion and has that written all over their face. And from every indication, just by the bench that we've seen, the bench that we know of, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Stephen A. Smith must feel the way that I feel because he's saying the same thing that I'm saying. There's nobody that we can clearly see that's ready to step up and, handle the business of the Democrats without doing it the old way. We're tired of the old way. That's why people love the new president, because he didn't do it the old way. He went against the grain, no matter if you liked it or if you did or didn't. That's just how he rolls. And most people like it because it's something different. It's not the same plain Jane watered down. And that's what people want from the Democrats. They want somebody who comes in and just doesn't stick to the script. So if Stephen A., hey, be prepared for what comes along with that, buddy. But if you want to put your hat in the ring, put your hat in the ring. But all skeletons will be brought to the forefront. So if you're willing to, get into that, then okay, we'll see. You got some years to continue to consider it. But how this politic thing work, you look up and it be 2028. So if you're really thinking about it, you might be trying to get your closet cleaned out now because they coming. They definitely coming for you, buddy, for sure. So that's that. On a sad note, judge rejects DMX ex-wife's claim of owning half of his music catalog. The couple was married for 16 years and finalized their divorce in 2016. A New York judge has ruled that Tashiri Simmons, the ex-wife of late rapper DMX, is not entitled to 50% ownership of his music catalog or intellectual property rights. The couple divorced in 2013 and following DMX deaths in 2021. Simmons filed a lawsuit claiming co-ownership of his artistic and business legacy. However, Judge David Everts determined that their divorce agreement did not clearly grant her ownership, only rights to royalty payments. Although the divorce settlement mentioned Simmons was entitled to 50% of intellectual property rights, the judge clarified that this language did not explicitly assign ownership of copyrights or trademarks. Simmons' attorney argued that the ruling disregards established legal principles and the original intent behind the agreement, leaving Simmons and her children deeply disappointed. Wow. I mean, I don't want to speak too much on this, but I just want to. The one underlying rule is you just got to have your house in order no matter what, because these are the type of things that happen. Your kids suffer. In this case, this is an ex-wife, but I'm not sure if he was married again or he remarried after her. But clearly, she had some type of rights when it came, to his portfolio of music. It sounds like, her attorneys didn't go in and do everything that they were supposed to do, because it seems like a lot of this was in writing. The judge just basically mentioned that in the divorce settlement, she was entitled to 50% of the intellectual property rights. So I don't know what is going to end up happening here. I don't know if she's going to re-challenge this case, or she's just going to accept what has been granted. But DMX was the guy. I mean, we all know that. So pretty sure his family could, be eating off of his intellectual property rights, his music catalogs for generations to come. So for this not to be right, I just don't like that the business of an individual has to go this way, because whatever the individual didn't do while they were here on earth, this could have easily been avoided with, just some established documents before, DMX was no longer here to, suffice for itself. So I wish them well. I wish the kids well. Ex-wife, I get it. She does deserve something. She was with him for 16 years. That's a long time. So I'm not going to say she don't deserve what she deserved, but I'm more so interested in what the kids are getting, because they're going to need that type of support, because he's no longer here to do that supporting of his children. So I hope they figure it out. I hope everybody's good after, these rulings. And, typically in cases like this, they don't come to any kind of agreement. So for her to be able to, get royalty checks and, things of that nature, it's not like she's walking away with zero. So, prayers for DMX, his family, kids, ex-wife. Hopefully things will work out. All right. So Louis Vuitton, LV, the gear everybody loves, everybody wants to have in their closet. Bags. I done bought, some LV bags in my time. So I get it. But Louis Vuitton is struggling to find qualified skilled workers at its Texas facility. The brand is paying $17 an hour to produce made in U.S. bags to appease Trump's tariffs. Man, I pay more than $17 an hour to my employees. Anyway, black millionaires, my guys, Louis V. Texas factory struggles revealed that the hidden cost of Made in America luxury Louis Vuitton Texas-based factory opened in 2019 with the support of former President Trump and CEO Bernard Arnault is now facing major setbacks. According to Reuters, the site is significantly underperforming, plagued by a shortage of skilled leather workers and high rates of waste, reporting up to 40%, double the industry standard. Despite offering $17 an hour with no experience required, the quality of work was reportedly suffered, with claims that some supervisors encouraged shortcuts to meet production goals, like melting leather to cover flaws. Finished bags that don't meet the luxury standard. They're shredded and incinerated. So, I mean, this is what's going to happen when you got these tariffs in place. People are going to be trying to cut corners to save money. And, I don't really know how you're going to be able to cut too many corners with these type of items, because the people that's purchasing them, they have an eye for this stuff. They're going to know, that this is not how it is supposed to be. So hopefully these guys, because I'm not saying Louis Vuitton shouldn't be able to, coincide and make money, and because it's a brand that a lot of people love. I like it. So I'm not saying do away with Louis Vuitton, but if you have a plant here in the United States, step your game up. If your bags and your luggage and your coats and your shoes and your this and your that is pretty much selling, at a rampant pace, which it is, then step your game up. Train your workers. You got time. It's not going anywhere. I get it. You got deadlines you got to meet, but you can't be underperforming. That's not going to get it. And you have to find employees that you can train up and pay them a decent wage in order for you to get the products that you want. It's that easy. Pay and you'll get the products that you want. It's not like you got to cut corners on pricing. People are going to pay for it regardless. Women love it too much. And when women love things, men will make sure that they have it. Period. So I would say stop cutting corners, get you some skilled labor in there, pay them some money, and get your product out here into the world. Just in the United States alone, you can go hard with Louis Vuitton. So, I know other countries is buying it at a rampant pace as well, but you best to believe they're buying it at a rampant pace here. So, cut them, get you some skilled labor, up they pay, get the product out to the masses, maybe cut costs a little bit, and the percentages that you're losing, you'll make up fairly quick. Just adjust them prices on them bags a little bit and see how they be flying off, the shelves, the coats and this and that, Show some people that you willing to cut them costs a little bit and see what happens. So, although I want you to get it better, I don't feel sorry for you. I want you to do what you're supposed to do as a major corporation to, do business. You know what you got to do? Stop acting like you don't. Come on, Louis Vuitton. What's crazy is I didn't even know we had a factory here in Texas. Who knew? I didn't even know. I thought Louis Vuitton was being made somewhere else and shipped to the United States. Well, we got a factory here that's shipping to other countries and here in the United States. I don't know what happened, but to me, I've never understood like why. I get it. That's what these tariffs are kind of about right now. But why would we not be the country that's selling everything to everybody? I don't get it. I get it because, people want to have cheap labor. That's why they go to these other countries. But if we could just suck that up and get everything here in the US and send it to everybody, including here in the US, why wouldn't we be the powerhouse that we claim to be? I just don't get it. But anyway, let's move on to the next thing. I'm about to give y'all some mortgage hacks. And then I'm going to allow our great duo, my deep dive crew, come up and talk about a company who I've done business with. And if you're out there and you like to do fixing flips and fixing holes, we're going to get into a company that you've probably heard of, Temple View Capital. We're going to break them down, see what they're talking about. But before we get into that, let's talk about a couple different mortgage hacks, right? The first mortgage hack is make bi-weekly payments instead of monthly on your mortgage. By splitting your monthly mortgage payment in half and paying that amount every 2 weeks, you'll make 26 half payments annually, equivalent to 13 full payments. This strategy can reduce your loan term by several years and save you thousands in interest over time. All right. See, that's what we do here at the Mayhem. We're gonna reveal it. We're gonna tell you. We want you to be the best you can be out here in this marketplace. Right? That's that one hack is, I can shut the show off and never say another word. Because if people listen to what I just said, it would help the masses. Anyway, number 2, shop around and negotiate your rate. Don't settle for the first mortgage offer you receive. Comparing rates from multiple lenders can lead to significant savings. In some states, borrowers have saved over $100,000 over the life of their loan by choosing the most competitive rate. It only makes sense. Why would you shouldn't agree to anything on the first offer. That's just business 101. Right? Shop around and negotiate your rate. Request a mortgage rate modification. If refinancing isn't feasible, consider asking your lender for a rate modification. This involves adjusting your loan's interest rate without the need for a full refinance, potentially lowering your monthly payments and total interest paid. Request a mortgage rate modification. That's huge. You ain't trying to refinance, see rates are dropping. Ask your lender for a rate modification. See what they say. It's just adjusting your interest rate, you know, without the need of a full refinance. That potentially lowering your monthly payments and totally interest paid. So think about that. Think about that. Make one extra payment each year. Adding just one extra monthly mortgage payment annually can significantly reduce your long-term and interest costs. For instance, on a 400 or on a 240,000 mortgage at 7% interest, making an extra payment each year could save you over 184,000 in interest and pay off your loan nearly 15 years early. Okay, I'm gonna read that again because people in the cheap seats may not have heard that. But for instance, on a $240,000 mortgage at 7% interest, making an extra payment each year could save you over 184,000 in interest and pay off your loan nearly 15 years early. Come on, y'all. Give me y'all some time. I'm magic with the K. I'm diamond right now. And last but not least, consider a offset mortgage. Y'all gonna be like, what? An offset mortgage links your savings account to your mortgage, reducing the interest charge on your loan by offsetting the loan balance with your savings. This can lead to substantial interest savings in a shorter long term, especially if you maintain a significant savings balance. You know what I'm saying? So an offset mortgage links to your savings accounts to your mortgage, reducing the interest charge on your loan by offsetting the loan balance with your savings. This can lead to substantial interest savings in a shorter long term, especially if you maintain a significant savings balance. All right, that's my 5 hacks for the day. I kind of like it. I'm going to bring you more hacks. More hacks. When you leave here, you're going to be educated about the game. I promise you. I'm giving it up. Nobody is giving you this amount of game. Plus, I'm mixing in current events that you're interested in. I don't understand. You should be, if you don't listen to me live, you definitely should be listening to me via the podcast on all podcast platforms. And I also have a YouTube channel as well. So it's no excuses, right? The Mortgage Mayhem podcast is on Spotify, Apple, all the podcast platforms. And I have a YouTube channel as well. So this game that I'm giving is there. You don't have to worry about it. You can go access it at any given time because it's game. This is my 4th show. And I didn't gave up a ton of game. We didn't deep dived on some of the biggest companies in 4 shows. And it's a million other companies out there that we're going to be taking a deep dive on. So there's no real excuse why you shouldn't walk away from this live in the podcast without having a plethora of information about current events and what's going on with the mayhem in the mortgage game, right? But Implementing these strategies can lead to considerable savings over the time of your mortgage, but always consult with a financial advisor or mortgage professional to determine the best approach for your individual circumstances. I'm a mortgage professional, so you can always reach out to me with any questions that you may have. All right. All right. So now we're going to bring up to the stage my duo, my guy and my gal. I mean, I'm so lucky to be able to have this as a part of the show. You know, let me get it together. All right. Got it together. Mm-mm. Okay. I'm going to bring up my duo. Like I said, once they get done breaking everything down and doing their deep dive, I will be back to break down their breakdown. And then we'll be out of here.
Welcome back to the deep dive. You're here because you want the important info for your real estate investing, like right now.
Yeah, no messing around.
Exactly. And financing. That's often the top of the list. So today we're jumping straight into Templeview Capital. They're a national private money lender.
Right, focusing on those non-owner occupied residential properties. Think rentals, flips, that sort of thing.
We've looked at their website, basically trying to pull out what really matters for an investor like you.
The goal here is to, get a feel for what they actually offer, their core services, maybe their philosophy, see if it clicks.
Okay, so let's start with the nuts and bolts. Their loan programs. What do they got?
Well, there's quite a range, actually. Rental loans are mentioned quite a bit.
Oh, yeah. Like long-term and short-term.
Both, yeah. They list it separately, which is interesting. Kind of suggests it's a big part of their business, maybe a core focus.
Makes sense. Like if that's your main strategy, maybe they're geared up for it. What else?
Then there are rehab loans. They specifically say these are customized.
Customized, huh? So not just a standard package.
Seems like it, which for rehabs is pretty important, right? Every project's different. Different money needed at different times.
Totally. You need draws that match your actual work schedule. You don't want holdups.
Exactly. Then ground up loans. New construction.
Right, building from scratch.
Yeah, but they do add a little note for experienced investors.
Ah, okay. So maybe not for your first ever project.
Probably not. Ground up is just, riskier, more complex. Lenders want to see you've done it before, successfully managed the whole process.
Right, the budgets, the timelines, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. What else is on the menu?
Bridge loans.
The classic bridge. So for like quick transitions.
Pretty much. You need to close fast, maybe before your long-term money is lined up, or just a quick in and out flip.
Gotcha. Buys you time, basically.
Mm.
Probably costs a bit more, though.
Usually, yeah. Higher rate for that speed and short term. It's a specific tool.
Okay. And you mentioned one more that caught your eye.
Yeah, the second mortgage rental loans, they have this call out, access equity from your property today.
Ooh, interesting. So leveraging properties you already own.
Exactly. Instead of a full refi on your main mortgage, you pull out equity with a second. Could be useful for, grabbing another property or funding improvements.
Yeah, it gives you options without maybe disrupting a great rate on your first mortgage.
Could be. You'd obviously have to look at the rate and terms on that second, but yeah, it's about flexibility.
So looking at all these, rental, rehab, ground up, bridge, second mortgages, it feels like they're really trying to cover a lot of ground for investors.
I think that's the idea. Trying to be maybe a partner you can stick with as your strategies change or your portfolio grows.
Okay, so they have the products, but why pick Templeview over someone else? What do they say makes them different?
Right. They list these key points. First one is reliable.
Reliable. Okay, that's table stakes in lending, you'd hope. What's their angle on it?
They talk about being a partner, focusing on long-term relationships, trust, transparency. But the big thing seems to be consistent funding.
Ah, regardless of market conditions.
That's what they claim. They literally say, have the capital to deliver funds when you need it, where you need it. That's a pretty bold promise, especially if the market gets shaky.
Yeah, that's huge. Knowing the money will actually be there.
Mm.
Okay, what's next?
Trusted.
Okay, reliable, trusted, related, but slightly different.
Yeah, here they lean on their track record. Say thousands of borrowers trust them nationwide.
And why do these borrowers trust them?
They list the usual suspects: competitive rates, flexible terms, fast closings, good service. They also mention adapting to provide the best possible rates.
Adapting rates. That suggests some flexibility, maybe, not just rigid rate sheets.
Could be worth asking about if you talk to them.
Definitely. Okay, third point.
Innovative.
Innovative lending. What does that mean? Fintech stuff, AI underwriting.
Not necessarily, based on their description. It sounds more about understanding individual needs and tailoring the programs.
Like the customized rehab loans we talked about.
Exactly. They say they're willing to evaluate, evolve, and engage. Sounds like they're not afraid to tweak things for clients or adjust to the market. Maybe more creative structuring on deals.
Okay, so innovation through flexibility and tailoring, not just tech.
Hmm.
Got it. What else?
Customer driven.
All right, focusing on the borrower experience.
Yeah, they emphasize excellent service throughout the whole project lifecycle, designing programs with investors in mind, taking time to solve problems.
That sounds good. Like having someone you can actually talk to if things get complicated.
Right, which they can in real estate.
Tell me about it. Okay, next.
Transparent.
Always a good sign. How do they define that?
Simple, fast, reliable process, upfront communication, a common sense approach, basically no hidden fees, clear terms, knowing what's going on.
Yeah, you definitely want that. Avoid surprises. And the last one?
Expertise.
Okay, so their team knows their stuff.
That's the claim. Decades of combined experience, proven track record, developing creative funding strategies suggests they've seen a lot and can handle tricky situations.
So putting it all together, reliable funding, trusted track record, innovative, flexible approach, customer-focused service, transparent process, and an experienced team. That's their pitch.
Pretty much, yeah. That's what they're highlighting on their site.
Okay, practical question then. Where do they actually operate? Is this truly national?
Well, they list specific states: Arizona, California, Minnesota, Oregon, Nevada, and Utah.
Utah had that specific note, right? Something about residential first mortgages.
Yeah, via residential first mortgage notification. Sounds like a specific regulatory thing they follow there. Good they pointed out.
Okay, so those 6 states are definite. What if you're somewhere else?
They do add that other states might be approved on a case-by-case basis.
Okay. So not a hard no if you're outside that list, but you need to talk to them.
Exactly. Worth an inquiry if they seem like a good fit otherwise.
Right. Now, you mentioned they have client testimonials on the site. Those can be revealing.
For sure. Always good to see what actual borrowers are saying. Let's see. LC praises their communication, calls their products great for investors, even says one of the best hard money lenders out there.
Wow. Strong praise. Lines up with that customer-driven and trusted stuff.
It does. Then BH mentions something specific: advanced draws.
Advanced draws, like getting funds slightly ahead of schedule.
Could be. Definitely a practical plus for rehabbers managing cash flow.
Yeah.
BH also mentions underwriting might be a bit slower, though.
Okay, good to see some balanced feedback included. Adds a bit of realism.
Yeah, I agree. NG reports no issues, quick to close, and praises specific people, Matt S. and Danielle O., for communication and knowledge.
Multiple loans, quick closes, good people. Reinforces efficiency and expertise.
Then there's JH. This one's pretty strong. Talks about more than 10 loans and referrals. Says Templeview exceeded expectations, highlighting professionalism, attentiveness, dependability.
Over 10 loans. That's a long-term relationship.
Definitely suggests they're delivering on that reliability promise for some clients. JH also thanks Matthew and Danielle again.
So those names pop up again. Seems like they have some key players making a good impression.
Looks like it. LS mentions competitive terms, smooth process, closing in under 2 weeks, recommends them for fix and flip.
Speed and decent terms, crucial for flippers.
Right. TG calls this service remarkable, praises knowledge, thoroughness, swift process, mentions Paul J. and KDS.
More names. Good sign of potentially strong team depth.
Could be. BC highlights their creativity, saying Templeview found financing structures when others couldn't. Also mentions a seamless closing.
That ties back to the innovative point, right? Finding solutions.
Exactly. And finally, RR calls it one of the best decisions, a smooth process, guidance beyond expectations, Looking forward to more projects.
Okay, so overall, the testimonials seem to really back up most of their main claims.
Mhm.
Reliability, service, expertise, sometimes speed, sometimes creativity.
Yeah, largely consistent. The one comment about underwriting speed is the main counterpoint, but mostly very positive themes. Communication and specific helpful staff members come up a lot.
Good overview. Okay, before we finish, we absolutely have to mention the disclaimers. The fine print always matters.
Crucial. So, first, they have the standard licensing info listed for those states they operate in. That's basic compliance.
Right, gotta have the licenses.
Yeah.
What about the rates and terms everyone sees advertised?
Big asterisk there. They state clearly that any rates, terms, conditions you see are only for qualified borrowers. It depends on your specific financial situation, the property itself, its location.
And it's all subject to their approval process, right?
Absolutely. Subject to change without notice, subject to their credit, legal, investment approval. So, what you see online is a guideline, not a guarantee. Your actual offer will be specific to you and your deal.
Super important to remember. Treat advertised rates as possibilities, not promises. Anything else in the disclaimers?
There's a disclosure about affiliate or joint marketing links.
Meaning if you click a link on their site to another company, Templeview might get a commission.
Yeah, basically. But they do say their goal is providing valuable resources, and they choose partners based on quality, not just commissions.
Okay. And clicking might mean you get marketing from them or the partner.
That's part of the consent, yes.
Yep.
It's fairly standard transparency about potential affiliate relationships.
Got it. Could they disclose it? Okay, let's wrap this up. What are the key takeaways for an investor thinking about Templeview?
Well, Templeview positions themselves as a versatile private money lender for residential investment properties. They offer a pretty wide range of loans.
Right. Rentals, rehabs, ground up, bridge, equity access.
Yeah. And they really hammer home themes like being reliable with funding, trustworthy, flexible or innovative in structuring deals, customer focused, transparent, and having an experienced team.
And the testimonials mostly seem to back that up, highlighting good communication, helpful staff, and effective solutions.
Largely, yes. But, and it's a big but, remember those disclaimers.
Definitely. Your specific deal, your qualifications, that's what determines the actual terms you'll get. The website is just the starting point.
Absolutely critical to keep in mind.
Okay, so here's something to think about. Given the loan variety and their stated focus on partnership and tailored solutions, how could a lender like Templeview potentially fit into your strategy? Maybe they open up possibilities you hadn't considered, or maybe their approach aligns with how you like to operate.
Yeah, worth pondering how their specific offerings might help you tackle your next deal or even scale up your investments.
Food for thought. Thanks for tuning in to the deep dive.
All right, we're back. That was Templeview Capital deep dive by my peeps. Man, got a good team. Got a good team early. That's important. Make sure you got a good team that's gonna make whatever it is that you're doing even more plausible for your audience, right? So that's what we have here with my deep dive crew. Anyway, let's talk about Templeview. They're presented as a national private money lender focusing on providing a diverse range of financing solutions for non-owner occupied residential real estate investors. The company emphasized its reliability, trustworthiness, innovation, customer-driven approach, transparency, and expertise. Templeview Capital offers various loan programs tailored to different investment needs, including rental property financing, both long-term and short-term, bridge loans, rehab loans, ground-up construction loans, and second mortgage rental loans. Their website highlights positive client testimonials, recent funded projects, and resources for real estate investors. Before I move on, let me just kind of say something, right? This is how much of a non-hater I am. I do the same thing. My company, I haven't even said anything about what I do, my company, or any of that, because that's not what this is for. At some point, we'll talk about me and what I do and all of that. But right now, I'm not trying to not talk about other companies because everybody can't do business with me. There have to be other companies out there that you could do business with, or individuals who may be listening can do business with outside of myself. And Temple View Capital is one of those companies because I've done a ton of deals with Temple View Capital, millions of dollars in business with them. So they are the truth, right? But we like to highlight all companies. We like to talk about the good and the bad. If there's bad, we'll find it. And my deep dive crew, once they dig into a company, they're not going to discriminate if it's good or bad. It's like we talked about BlackRock yesterday. They pointed out some of the negatives about BlackRock. Here today, not so much, because Temple View tends to have a stellar record. Not to say that they're perfect, because no company is, but they are on the upper echelon of private money lenders. So we had to highlight them. Their core business and target audience, they position themselves as a national private money lender, catering specifically to real estate investors dealing with non-owner occupied residential properties. Their core value proposition is to offer innovative and flexible real estate investor loan programs that provide customized solutions for investors. Temple View Capital offers a comprehensive suite of loan products designed to meet various investment strategies. Rental loans, long-term and short-term financing for your rental properties. Rehab loan, customized rehab loans tailored to your needs. Ground up construction loans, new construction loans for experienced investors. Bridge loans to help meet your transactional financing needs. And second mortgage rental loans, access equity from your rental. They also have a partner broker program offering more option to grow your business when you partner with them, indicating a focus on building relationships with mortgage brokers. So this is where I started at. I started off as a mortgage broker, advanced commercial finance, back in 2008. And this is how I ended up getting in the business. I was able to link up with lenders, private lenders such as a Temple View, to run my deals through. When I have clients come to me and they're trying to get deals done, I'm not, or I wasn't the actual lender, but I was able to have direct relationships with these lenders. So I was able to package up your deals, pre-underwrite your deals, and then ship them over to a company like Temple View, and we could forge a relationship and do business. That's how I started doing business with Temple View. I was a broker. And I don't know if you know, anybody can be a broker. You don't need a license. In some states you do, but for the majority of the states, you don't need a license. You just need to know what it is that you're doing. We'll have a segment on how to become a broker at some point during these these lives. Not today, but I think it's vital that you have that information, because that can be another stream of revenue for you, to the point where you can make 10, 15, 20, 30, 40,000 a month just by submitting deals to lenders like a Temple View, submitting deals to a lender like myself, and we're able to pay you a commission upwards of 3 to 4% per deal. But anyway, we'll get back into that on another day. But that is what they mean by being able to have a partner broker program. All right, so reliability. Temple View Capital presents itself as more than a lender, They're a true partner that values long-term relationships built on trust, transparency, and reliability. They ensure borrowers of secure and reliable funding regardless of market conditioning. Trustworthiness, the company claims to be trusted by thousands of borrowers nationwide due to its competitive rates, flexible terms, fast closing, and great service. They aim to be a trusted partner who adapts to offer the best possible rates. Innovations. TempleView emphasized its ability to provide the expertise to meet your individual needs through a willingness to evaluate, evolve, and engage with you to go beyond expectations. They offer a comprehensive suite of innovative funding programs tailored to specific needs and adjust programs for long-term sustainability of our clients' projects and portfolios. They're customer driven by providing excellent customer service. They claim to be supportive through every stage of your project and designs loan programs with investors' needs in mind. They emphasize problem solving and collaborations with clients. Transparency. TempleView Capital aims to make the lending process simple, fast, and reliable by being upfront and transparent. They take a common sense approach to lending. Expertise. Their team possesses decades of combined experience in the investment space, enabling them to stay at the forefront of innovative product development and provide creative and effective real estate investment funding strategies. So their operational aspects, they operate nationally with a physical office located in Bethesda, Maryland. The website provides a map indicating the states where they lend, with a note that other states may be approved by exceptions. They highlight recently funded projects with before and after photos, showcasing the type of investment they support across various states. And their website also features a resource blog, an investors insight section, indicating a commitment to providing value beyond just lending. They have plenty of client testimonials. So if you want to go to their website and read some of their testimonials, you can. But their key quote: when real estate investor needs customized solutions, they call TempleView Capital. TempleView is more than a lender. We're a true partner that values long-term relationships that are built on trust, transparency, and reliability. Working with TempleView gives you the expertise to meet your individual needs. No one is the same. Therefore, they are willing to evaluate, evolve, and engage with you to go beyond expectations. So TempleView Capital presents itself as a reliable and innovative private money lending lender specializing in financing for non-owner occupied residential and real estate investors. They offer a diverse range of loan programs, emphasizing strong client relationships built on trust and transparency, and highlight positive experience from their borrowers through testimonials. Their website serves as a comprehensive overview of their services, values, and contact information, encouraging potential clients to reach out for customized financing solutions. TempleView Capital, that is our deep dive private lender for today. So that's a wrap for today's episode of the Mortgage Mayhem podcast. We covered the latest from DC to deep space, plus real estate trends that can impact your portfolio. And our deep dive on TempleView Capital is just a preview of mortgage power players we're going to be spotlighting all season long. Next show, we're going to be digging into a financial force that's everywhere, but hard to see. Think bigger than banks. Stay subscribed. If you're not subscribed, stay sharp. And remember, when the market's wild, we'll bring the mayhem. Bet? All right, we out.